Hello and welcome to the Pixelated Realms Gamescast, your guide through the digital landscape, untangling the mysteries of your favorite titles and discussing the latest and greatest in video game fun. I'm your host, Alex Slater, and alongside me for the first time in a long time is my brother Tyler and my good friend Dustin. I feel like we haven't had all three of us for like over a month.
Has it been that long? I thought I only missed like 2 or 3 episodes max.
Yeah, but Dustin was gone before that.
Yeah.
And then you were gone, and I think I was gone like, I don't know, a couple months ago. So it was like, we just
it's been a little hectic,
around.
But you moved, Dustin traveled, and now, as you can see, probably I have moved. So thanks for being patient while I was moving over the last couple of weeks. This is that. Now we actually have space so that you guys don't have to, I should say Katie doesn't have to be involved in every single recording if she wants to play video games. I might be on a folding chair.
I saw like the little like metal back
That's
right
so
there.
Funny. I was trying to get away with
chair?
it. I was trying to get it. I was like, I hope they don't notice I don't have my Suka Lab chair.
You get away with nothing.
Is that still at the other place?
Yeah, I still need your truck to get that. So
that's too
Alex has been helping very nicely. So
it's like back in the old like
you should be able to fit it in your car.
All your stuff over.
Yeah,
I fit
close.
this fucking big ass Secret Labs Titan.
It's the same
in the
chair,
back of my Corolla.
How did you do that?
I took the bottom off.
He has the same car and the same chair.
How do you take the? If I take the
There's
bottom
just
off, I
like
could do it.
4 screws. There's like 4 screws that will detach the seat.
I'll probably
from
just
the
because that's how I ended up moving my desk without the truck by literally just disassembling all the
it's actually really
skeleton.
easy. Once you pop it over, you'll see. There's like 4 screws that you take out the bottom of the seat, and it just comes apart.
His KD has gone down since he hasn't had his high-speed gamer chair.
I know. Clearly, that was at least like 0.2%.
Oh yeah, dude. A gaming chair adds like minimum, in my opinion, 10% skill level.
Yeah, at least. If not more.
Got to add like another 10. The mouse. Wrist rest. But honestly, there's probably an argument that this wrist rest actually does help with shooting games.
It helps like your hand not cramp. If I play too long, I'm just getting old now, but my handles start to cramp. And I'm like, Jesus, I used to play like 8 hours straight, and now I'm like, after like 2.5, I'm like, oh God.
All the years of like WASD. That's where my hands just to like get all, I'm like, oh man, how old am I?
Yeah. Well, today we're going to be talking about a bunch of random things, including what we've been playing. We're going to talk about the Bioware layoffs a little bit, maybe some Battlefield talk. But first, we want to say big thank you to all those who subscribe to us on our Patreon. Without you guys, without your support and engagement, this podcast wouldn't be possible. So we really appreciate everybody who's gone over there. And if you're not subscribed, you can find us at pixelatedrealms.org/Patreon. That's where we post all of our latest announcements, up-to-date information, behind-the-scenes things, polls, anything, kind of community engagement regard, level stuff. So highly recommend check out that information there. So even though you've moved, what have you guys been playing?
Well, yeah, so it's been a while. So although we have been moving, it doesn't mean I haven't been playing some games, and I actually have been thinking about it now for weeks, so I get to like throw it all up on everyone here. So to start, I want to get started with Dynasty Warriors Origins. So that came out, I want to say like 3 weeks ago, January 16th. So yeah, that was like right when we started moving. And to be honest, like I'm a fan of the Dynasty Warriors series, but like I feel like in recent years it's been pretty hit or miss. The last one was not very good. So I wasn't like totally sold on buying this one, especially since it had a $70 price tag. But I played the demo and I was like, all right, you kind of got me. And, I think it ended up being really worth it. It's really, really well done. Like if you played any of the Dynasty Warriors, they're not incredibly complex games. But the fact that you're like one person and you can run into this crowd of like 100 guys and kill them all in like 3 hits, it just has a certain amount of fun. I've also been learning that it's always about the romance of the 3 kingdoms, which is this very like ancient Chinese like historical tale. It's like mixed fiction and nonfiction mixed together.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's like part of like their history, but it's told with a little bit of embellish, right? So there's all these like the ruler Chow Chow is a character in the game, but like in real life, he was also like a real emperor kind of thing. And these things like this person betrayed this person, and those things like actually happen. And there's this grand, right, like, really long story that you can watch. kind of like in India, there's now I'm gonna blank. Either way, a lot of different cultures, have these kind of like grand historical tales in one of them.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's really, really fun. Honestly, I've been surprised. Definitely worth picking up on sale. I will say the one thing that kind of sucks is there's no multiplayer.
Which is weird because I always remember that game being the most fun in multiplayer, because it's like when even if it's just 2 people, you're like, it's just you and your friend against the world,
And you could like verse your friends too, which was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But funny enough, and as much fun as I'm having with this one, it does make me want to go back and play the One Piece Warriors, Pirate Warriors, which is just Dynasty Warriors One Piece, and that is multiplayer.
Yeah,
that would be fun for us all to play.
There's also the Legends of Hyrule one where you play as Link, which I used to play a lot. That one was pretty good.
I just think One Piece, it makes perfect sense, because in One Piece you have those the regular human foot soldier guys, and that's perfect in Dynasty Warriors, because there is literally the foot soldiers, and then there's like the next step up where you're literally taller, and then so on and so forth.
I mean, while we're talking about One Piece really quickly, I'm just gonna say, Rare, please, Tall Tale, Sea of Thieves, One Piece, let's make it happen, people. I need it. I need it.
Imagine how awesome that would be. Dude, they would sell gangbusters if they were like, hey, we're doing a big new release. Guess what? Special mode, One Piece, you get to have powers and stuff. I think
go find the One Piece.
Even if they just did Tall Tale, like a Tall Tale series, 5-mission thing about being a One Piece character. Or
it does make me want to play.
That'd be amazing.
I'd pay. Sorry. Didn't mean to distract.
But Dynasty Warriors.
And that's kind of been the main thing I've been poking around on. How about you guys?
So I've been playing a crap load of games, actually. I've had a lot of free time in the last couple of weeks. And I've been playing Delta Force, of course. That's kind of my
Delta Force.
That's kind of my go-to, both warfare and operator mode. And then
fuck operator mode.
I've been playing, and I talked about this last week, Tyler, and you weren't here, and I wanted to talk to you about it a little bit, so I'll talk about it again. But I've been playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is like a Yakuza game, and I think it's a game you would really love.
Yeah, because it's turn-based, and it's
just the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think
I actually have played the beginning of it, but I didn't continue going. Yeah.
Do you have it, or is it just like a demo?
It's on Xbox Pass.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it on the PlayStation. But yeah, it's very goofy but serious. It's like it bounces back and forth between serious, which is like this Japanese trope that they like to do of it's serious when it needs to be serious and when a big beat's happening, but every other time is just la 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 la.
Right. It's about serious topics, but it's shrouded by ridiculousness to counterpoint that.
I just did a mission where I'm trying to get money to buy back my passport that was stolen, and in order to get the money, I have to basically play Crazy Taxi delivery game, but on a bike. And so it's you're on a bike and you're doing backflips and side flips to gain points, and then you're trying to collect ingredients and then deliver those ingredients to customers as fast as you can to make money. And then you're just the juxtaposition of being having just done this big fight with a Yakuza boss to now having delivered food on a bike doing backflips is just
singing karaoke or
karaoke. It's very jarring, but it's so in the world. It's just hilarious and fun, and it's just very much a video game. Yeah, I think that's one you'd really like. But I was talking last week is I played 10 hours of the game or so far, and I didn't realize that I had literally just played the pre-introduction.
Oh my gosh.
I literally got to a point where they're like, now you're going to travel to the real place. And I was like, wait, I haven't been there the whole time. I thought I was already started the game. And then you travel, it takes place in Hawaii. So you travel to Hawaii, and I was like, this is the main area? Shit.
You're playing the new one. You're playing the newest.
Yeah, this is the brand. This one's the brand.
Gotcha.
This is brand new. So he plays Ichiban, which I looked up a little bit. So he's the Like a Dragon. He's in the Like a Dragon 1 in this one. So he's the Like a Dragon storyline. And so far, really fun and just super bizarre. It's a long game, though, I can tell you that. It's so having just gone through it. But it has a lot of very old school style mechanics, I was talking about this last time, so I'm not going to dive into it too much, but you find random potions on the floor kind of stuff, that old school kind of very video gamey style gameplay. I think you would really like it if you really got it, if you gave it some time. But
I'll have to invest.
But that's not the game I've been playing the most, actually. The game I've been playing the most is I picked up Outer Wilds. Have you guys heard of this game?
Of course.
So, yeah. And
how far are you?
I'm pretty much gone almost everything. Have you played it?
Yeah, I've pretty much beaten it. Yeah, no, I beat it.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, everyone's like, you got to play Outer Wilds, got to play Outer Wilds. And so I was like, the other day, I was like looking for like a really, because I had just come off of Silent Hill 2, which had like no story.
Underwhelmed you?
Yeah, underwhelmed me. And I'm still working on the review video for that. It's because I want to beat it a second time to do the video, to like really get through it and like capture all the video and stuff. And I'm just like too lazy because I'm like, the game is just not good enough for me to want to play it a second time, but I just got to go through it. But so I ended up looking like, okay, what's like a really good story game? People are like, yo, if you like, really crazy, really deep, very interesting games that are like, they're not narrative driven, but have very like deep environmental lore and stuff, Outer Wilds. And I was like, okay, you know what? I've heard so much about this game. I want to play it. And I downloaded it. I'm addicted. I literally had dreams about it last night of what I was going to do the next day because like, I was like, okay, I found out this tip last time and now I got to go down that thread. Like that game is so good at giving you a thread to pull. Like it is. And for those who don't know this game came out like a year or two ago.
Yeah, it's a little, it's like 3 or 4 years old now, but
I think it's like maybe 2022. Well, yeah, I guess like 3 years probably. But
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But the point of the game is you're this
it came out in 2019.
Oh, really? Way longer than I thought. Then you're this like random alien race in a galaxy, and the galaxy has a bunch of planets, and you are a astronaut loosely.
Well, I was about to say I would set it up differently because this game is
it's funny.
It's a exploration game at its core, right? And when people told me it was like the most incredible game ever, and then you play the first moments, it's really confusing because it does. And to be honest, like I wish I hadn't heard about it, to be honest, because it did mess with my expectations. But your character is put onto a planet and instructed how to get into a spaceship and launch off. Basically, that's as much as you're given. And you're maybe not even given that much. But then the rest of the game is it's just you. You have to explore and you have to find these little hints and clues around the world and meet characters that take you through literal different times and spaces to what is a conclusory ending.
Sort of, but like this game is so good in so many ways at doing stuff that like a lot of games just aren't good at anymore. And so like it literally just like Tyler said, like it literally you're just like this like astronaut. You kind of go to this janky ass spaceship, and there's a couple of planets. There's like 3 or 4 planets, and then some other spots that you can visit. But you're just kind of like let loose into this galaxy, and your goal, they tell you like, hey, just go explore. You're an astronaut. The whole point is that there's some things that happen I'm not going to spoil because even though it's kind of an older game, like it's still fun to discover these things on your own.
Yeah.
But you do get a little bit of a sneak preview like before you launch the first time. But then you kind of start going out and you start to realize like there's a story buried in this universe. And so like I was kind of to reel back to where I started is like what this game is so good at. And they don't need to tell you to do anything. There's no quest that says, go here, do this. Right. And it's like, but what they do is they give you these threads, tons of them, like dozens of threads. And they're just very enticing. And it's just, you want to just pull on these threads and you want to follow this trail of thought down, 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 down. And then that trail of thought leads to more threads. And so you're like, wow, I need answers to all these new questions that I just got. And you're pulling down another thread. And they take you, and each thread, each one of these like clues takes you to a new location, or because I don't want to spoil anything about it because the game is all about learning. Like if you gave the game to someone who knows the game and they booted up a fresh, brand new profile of the game, it doesn't matter because you start with everything. You don't get anything new in the game. You start with what you have.
It's all about the knowledge you learn as you play.
Exactly.
The games.
Everything that happens in the game is just knowledge that you've learned about it. So it's like I read this book on a secret passage to get into something I wasn't able to get into before. But if you knew that passage was already there, you could have gone there the first shot. There was nothing like blocking you from getting in there. So it's really cool.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I will say that like I thought the puzzle and threads part was fine. I thought it was pretty like in line with those type of games. But it was actually the physics part of the whole game that I thought was the most amazing thing. Honestly, the fact that like they are actively, how would you even put it, simulating the physics of the celestial bodies and the gravity they produce, like, and the part of how that plays into the puzzles that you do, like, to me, that was my favorite part. And then also there's kind of like, you know, an existential philosophical
there's a
aspect
lot
to
of
it.
that.
But like, as far as like actually figuring out the threads, I spent a couple hours and then I was just like, please just tell me like where I need to go, because I really just want, I
really?
did not have as much fun like just sitting there and following the thread. Yeah.
I am a thread puller. It's so funny because I mean we're totally different style players. You could tell because to me I didn't really care. I mean it's cool. I like the gravity thing because in space it's like gravity, and then if you're on a planet, each planet has different gravity.
Well,
but
you're like on
honestly,
a planet, you get sucked onto another one because the
cool.
gravity of a moon comes and you just get like launched.
Yeah, that's so funny because to me, I fly drones, and the ship kind of flies like a drone a little bit. And I was actually kind of just like, all right, like this is really simple. The gravity is really simple. Like technically, it's not that huge a feat. They have a very simple system, but it doesn't need to be complex. The fact that it's like it does exactly what it needs to do, and it's honestly brilliant.
Hold on, I have a drone tangent before we get too far away from it. Did you guys see that? Did you hear the LA fires? There was a drone that flew into the plane.
And it was like some ex-CEO of something.
The CEO of...
It's the co-founder of Treyarch, the fucking creators of Call of Duty.
Dang. Jesus.
So he ended up having 150 hours of community service and a $65,000 fine to repair the plane.
Wow.
And that's just kind of why. I mean, honestly, like it makes me think though, like, because he could have got up to a year in prison. Like, it's kind of like one of those things of like, I don't know how rich this guy is. I'm gonna assume he's pretty well off.
Yeah,
but it's like, what if like this is just some poor person that couldn't afford the fine, right?
They probably should have
him based on
his own.
To some degree, they probably fined him based on.
Well,
how much
it's how much the $65,000 is the cost of the repairs for the plane.
Wow.
So, like, that's how I'm like, hey, you pay the cost of the repairs, and like, you're good.
Then you
go
bankrupt.
National disasters, maybe don't fly your drone.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. But I feel bad because, like, if it's just like a normal person who doesn't have $65,000 in the bank, are you going to jail?
A normal person causing a crime is still accountable for that crime.
It should still be the same punishment, right?
No, that's what I mean. That's what usually. I mean. If
they garnish their wages and things. There's mechanics for that, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's like they
I'm
never
surprised
really...
they didn't throw the book at the guy and like actually make him spend a little jail time because
they probably wanted the money.
Yeah, I mean, they probably could have got both, frankly. But anyways, sorry, drone tangent because I just seen that on Gamescast.
Well, Outer Wilds. So like, it's funny that you say that because I'm like a big explorer player. Like I like to explore worlds. Like in Skyrim, I spent so much hours just wandering around exploring the universe. I'm not even doing the combat and stuff, even though I like that stuff too, obviously. But in this game is like fits so perfectly in that interest for me because like I'm like a historian of the universe, of that universe. Like I know so much information, and it does help you a little bit that when you uncover a piece of key information, it does store that information in like a journal basically that you have on your ship. So it's not like lost forever, but you can kind of reference back to things like certain images and stuff like that. So there is that, but that's like the only thing the game gives you. So
kind of like an archeologist.
Uncover
you're literally an explorer.
Future path.
You're fucking Indiana Jones in space. A little less adventure as far as like enemies and shit. There's really no enemies in the game.
It's Firefly.
And it's just like it's you just
exist. It's a game dedicated to exploration. It is literally a game about space exploration and
it's just
untangling stories. It's great.
It's
very interesting. Not for everyone.
And I'm starting to like I see all these like patterns and things like that. And I'm starting to, I'm like, oh, like over here they use this kind of thing, and now they're using it over here. It's hard to explain without giving away like a big part of the game's like purpose. But highly recommend it. Such a fun game if you want to lose yourself. Like I was saying, I literally was dreaming about like the things I was going to explore because I had just some like. I just found like this clue to a new area, and I'm really close to the like final bit.
She just ruin it for you.
No.
I dreamed that I got chased by a lion and got eaten last night.
Oh
like,
my
legit.
gosh! You want to
Eaten
play a
by-
game that we get eaten by lions? We can do that too.
Hunt or
Yeah, the hunter.
The hunter.
It was a wild ass dream. I like woke up and I was like, that was kind of weird.
I was uncomfortable.
Not going to Africa anytime soon.
Seriously.
But yeah, that's my current obsession. And when we're done with this, I'm probably gonna go back and like I'm literally like this close to getting the final like thing. I have all the clues pointing towards it, and I'm just tying up some loose ends that I have before I kind of dive into that to the final. Because there's like there's like this thing you're kind of like trying to figure out eventually, and so it's not just there is like a story. But you build the story yourself. You put the pieces together yourself. And so I'm like really close to getting that final piece of like, why is X happening? So I'm excited. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
10 out of
Dustin,
10.
what are you playing?
Mostly just Delta Force with Alex and Ralph. I said fuck Operations earlier, but I actually meant fuck Warfare. I like Operations better. Operations is like the 3-player like, extract, right?
Yeah, the extraction, the operations.
Yeah, I like that better. Although I think the way Alex plays is fucking boring.
Safely.
Because yeah, it's just too safe. Like we'll like hear gunshots and Alex is like, go the other direction. Just run away.
He knows how to keep his gear.
I know, but that's so lame. And I get granted, I suck, so you might
You're the one who
confident.
ran
Wait. Okay,
Okay.
can I put a little perspective here? So me, Ralph, and Dustin will play the game. And Dustin is like, let's kill him. And then guess who at the end of every game has the most kills? Me. Guess who has 0 kills? Dustin.
That is not
You kill, like,
bots. You don't even know.
Okay, the bots don't
You
count.
don't
Players.
even know.
Because what ends
5
up
points.
happening
You had
is
the most
Dustin
kills
ends up...
one time. You got like, you kick, oh, bro, I just killed this diamond player. I'm so proud of myself, bro.
I never
It
said that,
sounds
but
like
I did
one
say...
of you has better gear than the other two. So.
We'll have the same fucking gear. We'll have the same gear. I took out 3 guys with base level standard ass fucking gear after these 2 knuckleheads got killed. All right.
All right.
That's
1v1.
because
This is what happened.
These
This is
guys
what
are
happened.
just
1v1.
like fucking, they're just like walking around trying to loot and find items they can sell in the auction house. And I'm like, let's hunt some people down. So I'm always first in. So there's the difference.
No, Dustin
I'm first
wants to be
in.
the first shot.
Yeah, I'm first
And
in,
death.
and then Alex is
First
just in the
death.
back. He has all the information now. He knows where they're at, and like
Perfect.
comes in for cleanup duty. You
Ah.
know,
Sounds like
All
you
right,
need to
next
get better
time-
armor.
Next time we're streaming this shit, I'm gonna clip every single time you go down and every time I get a kill. We'll see.
all right.
Oh,
Most
there's
of
a
the
new.
time
Hey,
we never go down. I mean, everyone goes down.
speaking of
That does
multiplayer
happen.
shooters, there's a new zombies map. We should play it.
Oh, on Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
the
to reinstall
tomb.
it.
I reinstalled just that
Yeah.
portion.
I don't have that installed either.
Yeah, I don't even have Call of Duty installed. Delta Force has just been so much more fun for me.
Yeah, no,
But,
Delta Force is good. I'm enjoying it. I just think Warfare, like, it's Battlefield, basically,
Mhm.
but it's pretty polished. I don't want to say it's not polished. It's just I don't know. I don't enjoy Warfare as much right now. It's too like surgy a little bit. I especially don't like playing it as an attacking team.
Yeah, it
So-
is literally just butting heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that I wish they would do more of is, do you remember in Battlefield 2 in the original, or Battlefront 2, the original, not the newer one, the Star Wars Battlefront, is in the space battles, you could go like fly into their ship and disable their
Yeah.
generator or disable like their
Everyone
like,
misses that.
like all these like things that would change the tide of battle if you did some really cool, like you got it. I wish that I saw more of that in these kind of large scale games of like, you could take, if you so desired, a small team of people and infiltrate something and,
Get
that
an
really
advantage.
changes things. Yeah, get an advantage. Be like, oh, hey, my squad, maybe even you have to accept it. That way, so you don't have people like a whole team mobbing like one spot, but like, be like, hey, one squad can accept this like micro mission to go in and disable an artillery that will, stop them from being able to call artillery down. Right? Like something like that. And then, the other team would then eventually have the option to like repair it or something given over time. But like, there's none of that. So it's just like, boom, 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 fighting, which,
It
I
also
like.
needs
I do play Warfare.
destruction. I think destruction would add a lot because
Mhm.
I think as the attacking team, just like, they're all bunched up in an area and you just feel like, fuck, dude. It's so hard to infiltrate like the flag
Yeah.
area because they're just But with the destruction, like in Battlefield, like if they're all like in a house, like you could literally bring that house down, and kill everybody. So it's a little bit harder to just post up.
There's
Not
some.
like that though, but you can destroy like the sandbags,
Destroy the little houses,
and things like that. They can be rebuilt, but it's not on the level. I mean, Battlefield, literally, you can destroy everything. There's like nothing in the game that's.
I mean, you can destroy some of the houses. There's walls you can destroy inside for certain things, but it's definitely nowhere near the level of Battlefield. I mean, Battlefield, you could take down skyscrapers, right, and blow the dam and stuff. Like, you just can't do that. I mean, that was some of the best parts of
That's
Battlefield.
Crazy.
Blow
a dam in Battlefield.
Yeah, and it would flood half the map. It was actually really cool. Oh my
gosh, I want to see that.
I want to say that was 4. Was that 4 or 5?
Then they had stuff like that in 2042, the most recent one. Also,
yeah, they had the tornadoes and the weather and stuff. But
yeah, but speaking of Battlefield, some big Battlefield news today with the launch of Battlefield Studios. As someone who did the PR for 1.5 and half of 2042, I also like just a huge Battlefield fan growing up. Like I was always a Battlefield guy over COD. I'm excited to see what they can do with it because I'm a little confused. I mean, maybe I need to read the article more in depth, but I'm curious if so the Battlefield studio is made up of 4 studios that have historically worked on the Battlefield franchise. That's DICE, which is like the king of Battlefield. You have Ripple Effect, which used to be DICE Los Angeles, and then they rebranded. Then you also have Criterion and Motive. Motive has historically been like the person that does a lot of the vehicle stuff. But so these 4 studios now are DICE. Are now Battlefield Studio, but I don't know if that means that these 4 studios no longer exist or if just a subsection of that studio is now dedicated to Battlefield and under the Battlefield Studio banner. Because, DICE makes stuff other than Battlefield. They make Mirror's Edge. They make the Battlefront games. Criterion and Motive Squadrons. So, they're not like dedicated to just Battlefield, but so I'm curious if like they are now or if it's just a subsection of the studio. But, as painful it is for me to say, Battlefield 1 did really well. It was based in World War I. A great introduction. The first 20 minutes of gameplay that forced you to die every time so you could kind of realize how awful World War I was. And then 5 came out. 5 was a great game, but it got bombed on because it was kind of one of the first games that you kind of seen this, and I'll say anti-woke now, but that really wasn't a thing back then. But people like flipped out because
they let women.
They were women soldiers in the first trailer. And
if you're an audio listener, you can probably hear my eyes roll.
And then, obviously, just some people who don't know this, there were women soldiers in World War II, by the way. And then somebody at one of the studios, and I know the person's name, but I'm not going to say it, but said, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And that just fucking murdered the marketing campaign throughout the rest of the game. And it just could never recover. So it didn't sell incredibly well, even though it was a great game. And then 2042 had a lot of issues. It didn't do very well either. So I'm kind of sitting here like, is this make or break for the Battlefield franchise, this next game? If this next game does not do well, is that just it for the Battlefield franchise? Or are they going to continue to invest like probably hundreds of millions of dollars into the development of this game? And again, like I grew up on Battlefield. I'm a huge lover of the franchise. Battlefield 2 and Bad Company 2 are 2 of my all-time favorite games. I'd really love for them to just see a remake of one of those. I think it would do banger numbers. But
I was gonna bring that up. Do you think the next one's gonna be a Bad Company? Because if they're gonna have to shoot their final shot, that's pretty much like a surefire way to get a lot of interest.
I don't know. They say, I guess for this article I read, it's supposed to be a modern setting. I'm not really sure. The last modern setting was Hardline, which didn't do well either. Even though I think in hindsight, a lot of people are more favorable towards it now. But well, what I was gonna say is like, is the Battlefield formula just an outdated formula that just doesn't interest gamers anymore? Because it's not a game that has ranked. It's not a game like, that has like serious, you do get progression in terms of you earn new guns and things like that as you level up, but it's not like modern day progression. And so without being able to flex your rank or have like modern progression, which are just things that have not even existed in the Battlefield franchise, does it just not appeal to gamers anymore? Because you just don't have games where you have 30 people load in and there's no rank and there's no leaderboards and anything to show off. It's just like, hey, you're just coming in here, you're gonna fucking chaos for 30 minutes and that's it.
Then you go home.
Yeah. The interesting thing one, I'd say Delta Force is fairly popular, but it's a free to play game, so the bar's a little different, right? And I mean, it's not like, it's not beating Fortnite or anything. It's popular, but it's popular within its own like little realm. And then like you bring up an interesting point, it's like ranked or something like that. But I actually think the issue comes down to feeling like the hero. Games like that, like Call of Duty and shooters in general, like everybody wants to feel like the hero, right? You want to feel like that. But in those Battlefield big games, like with it,
cannot carry in Battlefield.
Yeah, you can't, right? Like you could do really well, but you're definitely not going to be like 3 times better. Or
Battlefield historically isn't a game where you can hero because it's objective based. Right. If you sit back with a sniper,
it's more tactical
or whatever, and you go 30-5, but you never go claim an objective,
right?
You're probably still going to lose. You have to be capturing an objective. You have to be playing as a team. And so, there is no hero ball in Battlefield. It's a very team-based game, which is difficult also in today's world because people don't really like to be forced into squads, things like that as much. Like even for us, right? Like we queue up for operators. Like I'm not going to, like me and Ralph, we played the other night. We just did duo. We didn't have a random join our team.
Yeah, I play solo if I'm by myself. Like I don't even want the other people because they're just going to do their own thing.
And in operations, I mean, in warfare it does put you in it, but you're never talking to that person.
But, you barely even the only thing that matters is that they can res you. That's the only thing that matters.
And spawn, like it's a spawn point if like they're farther pushed up, but you're not coordinating with them, anything like that. So I don't know. Like I said, I just don't know if the modern day gamer has moved past Battlefield.
I mean, like as somebody who also enjoys those games and clearly like Delta Force and stuff like that, it's interesting because like I semi agree with you that I would say it's like gone stale, right? This type of gameplay, I still really like the core of it, like the attack and defend. I like that. I like Rush.
Shut
and
that
Battlefield.
cat up.
That was like my favorite. It might actually edit it out when I do it, when I do the audio
It's so
treatment,
funny.
but,
He's just growling in the background.
But, they haven't iterated really on it in a major way in a long time, and it just makes it feel stale. They'll be like, oh, there's a tornado now, and you're like...
Well, no, but they have tried, though. They have tried.
I know, they tried with the hero classes.
Well, in 5, you had Firestorm, which tried to play off the Battle Royale. It was a Battle Royale mode. Came out a little bit late, like...
Battle Royales are already fading by then,
and it wasn't ready at launch. And then in the last one, they had basically a hunt showdown mode of like search and extract in 2042.
Did that come with it on ship?
Yeah, it was one of the major 3 modes. And then you also had the mode where you could create custom maps. So that was the second big mode. So that was like custom maps, like modes, everything. You could basically create whatever you wanted and load it up for people to play. So they've tried to iterate, but ultimately they always fall back on like big Battlefield moments, Conquest, like that is Battlefield, like Conquest mode.
But that's why like the Star Wars one was so fantastic. Like it was just, I don't know. My favorite Battlefield games, I feel like are still Battlefront Star Wars games.
But even those, right? Like how long did you actually
No,
play
I mean, I like both. I actually
for?
like both renditions. What?
But how long did you actually play those for? Like was it like
dozens of hours
for a month? Or
no, we played for years. Alex?
Oh, the original, yeah, sure. But the new ones, I probably played like a total of like 4 hours.
No, I have like 40, 50 hours on the Battlefront 2.
But that's horrible. Like for what they're
not for me, it's not.
Maybe not for you. Me. But I'm saying for like the normal, like Battlefield 2 and
Let me look at how many hours in Delta Force
hundreds
I have
104
hours in Delta Force.
Into,
I mean, I
probably have thousands of hours into the old Battlefield games, like each.
Yeah, the classic one, I had hundreds of hours with friends, and it was like Friday night goals. But like Battlefront 2, although the newer one, it didn't have that same level of... The thing is okay, the old classic Battlefront 2 had like 50 fucking levels. You had all these different factions. It had co-op capabilities. You had the planetary supremacy. Like, you had so many ways to play. And I think the newer version is fantastic. It's gorgeous. It's well made. It just was like, 1/10 of the content of that, and that's because it's a lot harder to produce these gorgeous models for these, than it was back then. They were just smaller polygons.
But my point is, like, Battlefield is built also like, any game to make money. Like, they want you sticking around for a year at least. They want you to put 1,000 hours in this type of game. Like, how many hours do you think you already have in Call of Duty? Black Ops
I could tell you
6,
Well, from zombies, you probably have quite a bit.
But 186 hours.
You got to think too, like the times are different.
That's a lot for me.
It's like the original Battlefront games came out during a time when like there was very few like options for online multiplayer games of like that scale, and nowadays we have much different expectations. Crossplay is an expectation. Cross saves are generally an expectation. Having really good multiplayer, like having better graphics, like everything has been boosted. Has been
these
like
are all
boosted
my
up 10
point
times.
is that people back then were playing these games for hundreds of hours, and that was enough for them. Like, they were satisfied. But what the modern gamer wants now, like, they are moving off these games. Either they're not diving in at all, or they're moving off them much quicker than they did 10, 15 years ago, which is a problem.
Yeah, totally. Like, the problem that's just general in video games nowadays, and not just specific to like Battlefield type games, it's just the amount of sation in the market. There's
there's
many
more
games.
Yeah,
there's literally thousands of games coming out every month. I mean, there's tons of 99% of those are indies on just like Steam, But yeah, there's like so much fucking stuff out there. It is very difficult.
There's game passes now. There's EA. Like, there's all these ways of getting hundreds of games we didn't used to have to. Like Steam, right? My Steam library has thousands of games now. It just sits there. That didn't used to be the case. You had to gather more enjoyment
even
out of
games
what
I'm excited for, I don't play because I'm just like, I don't have time for that. It's like
dopamine overload.
I actually think that has, I talked about this when we talk about live services, but I'm going to bring it back a little because I think it's relevant. Like, I think that's why live service games are struggling, because if you think about this, like, think of it as like a graph. So companies are trying to get people to invest more time into their game, right? Okay. With a live service game, they're expecting, I expect my players to play 150 hours or more. That's like, I don't know, I'm making these numbers up, but you get the gist. A lot. And then, but from that's the company side. But as the player side, I'm thinking, holy shit, there's more games coming out every month than I can play. I need to bang out as many of these as I can. And, and I want to spend just enough time in each one that I feel like I got either my money's worth or I got the time and the joy and the satisfaction with, exceptions. And those exceptions, though, is like, I would say each person has like maybe one game that they like stick to for a longer time.
They're
like
tried and true fallback game when they're bored or they play with friends.
Yeah.
Right now that's us for Delta Force right now, probably.
Yeah. It used to be like Sea of Thieves and Call of Duty and like all those games, those live service games, but everybody gets one. And fighting for that spot, I'm generalizing, obviously. This isn't like a hardcore thing here, but fighting for that spot to be that one game is really, really, really hard. And so if you're going to create a game that's, like, imagine everybody has 2 slots for video games. They have their long-term game and they have their right now game. And it's like the short-term game is very easy to fill. It's like a 10 to 25 hour experience, like Outer Wilds or whatever.
30 hour single player experience. That's perfect for me. Spider-Man 2, something like that. That's
I still tend to enjoy those experiences more than my live service ones. I feel like I still love a single player, like beginning to end game.
I need a linear story. Like, honestly, like, it doesn't have to be like super linear, but like Spider-Man 2 is like this prime example. Like, it is a perfect like fucking formula for me and what I want at this point in gaming. Like a 25 hour, like, different paths I can choose, but basically I'll get you to the same finish line. I mean, my buddy was talking huge shit on me because I didn't like Monster Hunter World. I couldn't fucking stand it. I just thought it was just like there was no story.
Like they never have a good story.
It was just
that
boring.
one. What's funny too is because that one probably had the most story out of any of the monster
the lava
hunters.
hunting, the lava like
Yeah,
hill.
you would love Silent Hill too. You should play Silent Hill too.
I just felt like a monster, and I was wandering around like, and it's go kill this thing over there, and I was like, this is fucking boring. I played like 5, or I think I put 11 hours, and I was like, this fucking shit. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah,
but, yeah. I need like I said, Spider-Man games. Perfect.
you bring up. I mean, this brings up an interesting question. I always want to do like a video on this. It's like how many hours do you need to put in a game before you're like, this isn't it? Like some games, it's like you can immediately play, but there's some games where you're like, I need to dive in a little bit more.
I was
like
about to say sometimes that's a mistake and you fall for it. You have to keep pushing yourself. Like The Witcher 3 is a great example. The first couple hours of The Witcher 3 is actually, it's good, but it doesn't prep you for the quality. It doesn't prep you for like the long-term quality of life love that you will get for The Witcher. So a lot of people get 2 hours in and they quit. And you have to, I beg you to get like 3 to 4 hours in, and you'll start getting hooked. Really happen.
That was me for Breath of the Wild. I had to force myself to keep playing Breath of the Wild. The first like 4 or 5 hours, I was like, this game is incredibly fucking boring. And then you get to that village right before you start like going. If you took, I went the sea people route on mine, and so you get to that village, and then like the next part is like you go to the first out of the 4, and like that was when the game actually was like hooked me right there. I was like, okay, cool, I get it, like let's do this. But before that moment, I was like, the fuck is the hype? This game sucks. And Alex just thinks it sucks all the way through the end.
I still think it sucks.
It was a fun exploration game, but I think it wasn't until I got to like the Master Sword where I was like, okay, this is pretty cool.
I was so mad that the Master Sword deteriorates though. I was like, why?
Yeah, that should have been the one.
It regrows.
Now I know, but it's just.
But after like
not...
30 minutes or something, I forget what it is, and you have to go all the way back to that place to get it. I mean, you can fast travel, but still.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we finish up this episode with some questions?
Yeah, well, we're not even finished with that. We got more to talk about. But yeah, let's go ahead. And now let's hear from you. It's time to ask Pixelated Realms, where we answer your questions and read your comments.
You answer your own questions.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. If you'd like to join the conversation, head over to pixelatedrealms.org/ask, and let's dive in. We actually have, I think this is a record. I think we have 4 different people asking questions. We have 5 questions, and there's 4 different people. So, it's super awesome. We really love it.
Thanks, guys.
It's exciting. We're gonna start with Ralph because he wrote in first. So Ralph asked us 2 questions, and the first is a resurgence of an old trope we got going on. So, return of Dustin's video game waifu of the week? Question mark. Degenerate.
It's
Classy.
True. Can't even deny it. They're not on my car though, people. I won't do it. I won't put stickers on my car.
What is your waifu of the week, though? I want to know.
Oh, is he just asking me?
Yeah, that's the question. That was it.
The question is, what's the waifu
it was like,
of the week?
Is it coming back?
Okay. Then I'm gonna just. It's not a video game character, but I got my Chizuru Mitsuhara statue from Rent a Girlfriend in this week, so she's my waifu of the week.
Rent a Girlfriend.
Yeah, it's actually a rom-com. It's a rom-com, so it's actually really good.
I have a waifu choice, but it's totally against. It's not even a waifu. It's just Helly R from Severance. Oh my god, that's my.
I haven't watched it
yet. My
actor
crush. If you're watching it, you'll know though.
I might actually. I'll probably watch it tonight because Emily's out of town, so I got I can just watch binge it. All right, next question. This one's from Ralph.
You didn't answer.
Oh, I thought this was Dustin's video game waifu of the week.
Tyler provided one.
Yeah, well, that was like a bonus. My wife is my waifu. All right. Emily is.
She'd be so disappointed in that answer.
She'd be so disappointed.
Nah, she'd be like, "Oh,
you're." She's shaking her head from afar, like, "You bitch, you won't give an answer."
My waifu. Let's see. I would have to say Yamato.
Oh yeah,
it's a good one. It's a good one.
They're great. I don't know. I actually don't remember where I ended on that.
She's a she, but she identifies as a man because her hero is a man. And she wants to act like her hero. Not
Oda actually says,
she's a man.
Yeah.
Oda-san actually says that Yamato is a woman. At some point, he confirmed.
Pretty clear she's a woman. Yeah, she's a woman, but she just wants to be like her hero, who's a man. So she calls
She
herself
identifies as her hero, who is a man.
that. Exactly. It has nothing to do with sexuality. All right, next one, and let's see. This is from Al. What's up,
Hey,
dudes? Do you think Nintendo is making a mistake by not having a slim model that doesn't include the handheld part of it, so just like the TV part? I never removed the Switch from the dock. Neither do my friends. I get having the handheld for lots of folks, but I'd love a cheaper, more powerful version that was like a normal system that didn't need to transition between the to a portable system. It's so small, it could just be attached on the back of my TV. Thoughts? This is a great question. Thank you for writing in. I don't think that will ever happen, though, because that's the whole gimmick of the Switch, is doing that. In fact, the opposite, I think, is more true, like they did with the Lite, where they have a handheld-only version, one that doesn't connect to a TV. But I get what you're saying. It's like, why not have a more powerful version that's like more of a traditional console? And I mean, it's a good question. Like, do you think that would sell?
It's kind of funny to me because, like, it's one of those things where I agree that no, I don't think they're going that direction, but I love that idea now. So, like, man, I really want one of these. I want like, I would do, my biggest complaint with my Switch was just that I wanted it to be more powerful, right? And I was willing to accept.
Which is what the Switch 2 is.
Right, but, like, I imagine the Switch 2 at some point, I'm still going to say to myself, I wish it was more powerful. So, I don't know. To me, I like that idea because, one, I enjoy playing on the TV way more than I enjoy handheld mode. You know, so I wish Nintendo would do that, but I got a line that I don't think they probably are going to. But it's a fantastic idea.
No, I just don't see them doing that. Like, I think it would be cool. I agree. Like, I think that would be an awesome choice for people who just want the power. But the problem with that is the selling point of the Switch is that it's like a dock, like you can remove it. And if you were to give one more power, that means people would have to develop for one with more power, meaning the lower ones couldn't play it, right? But that's not going to happen. Right. So what they're going to do is they're going to develop for like the middle one or the lowest one actually, or maybe have like two versions that's, scale resolution or something like that. But they're not going to try and, make a more powerful like third version. So even if they did have a dock, it would probably be heavily throttled to whatever the middling standard is. But
I totally missed the question. What was the question?
Oh, do you ever think that there's going to be a Switch version that is not handheld, like a dock-only version?
Yeah. Would it even be a Switch then?
No, that's what we're saying.
Oh, yeah, that's just like a different console altogether.
Yeah, I think the Switch in its inception is the fact that they have conjoined the console and the handheld, which, frankly, if you really think about it, that was Nintendo's two things. Now they made it one. So I think
you can switch back and forth.
Yeah, it's literally the name.
You could switch. So I think it's just incredibly beneficial for their company right now to continue doing that. Once again, I want more power too, so I think it's cool.
Now, if your question is, do you think Nintendo will ever just come out with another standard console that doesn't mix handheld? I would say more than likely. We'll probably see that eventually.
I actually almost think no, to be honest, from now on. I mean, eventually maybe, but like in recent
10
time,
years from now maybe.
Or I think even maybe like 20. And the reason I think that is because I think hardware is just going to get better, and it's going to get the gap between where Nintendo is and where like the higher end stuff is going to shrink. And so eventually what's going to happen is that they're going to hit kind of a ceiling, like a soft ceiling of to like, we're pushing the bleeding edge, but it's only like, this much better. And in that time, Nintendo's going to close that gap. And so what's going to happen is, as opposed to it becoming a dockable, like more powerful Switch, you're just going to see the handheld version get more powerful over time. They're going to come out the Switch 2 Pro eventually, and that'll just be even better. And then they'll come out with whatever the hell Switch 3 becomes. Well, and that's going to be even better, right? And then in that time, what's going to happen is they're going to, like the PlayStation 6, which is, a little bit better. It's got a little bit of this, and it's got like AI, some shit in there, but
some AI shit.
The reason I think we'll see another console sooner rather than later, obviously not for 5 years, because the Switch 2 is going to come out and now we have a certain console cycle. But the reason I think that we'll see Nintendo switch back to console, probably for the system after Switch 2, in my opinion, is because we're seeing more and more companies coming out with handhelds. So we have the Steam Deck, we have the Asus, Xbox is supposedly coming out with a handheld. Maybe we see Vita get rebirthed.
Wow.
It's not going to
And
happen. They said Portal is their new
or
handheld.
Portal, whatever. But
I wish though. I would love that.
my point is, Nintendo doesn't want to just be another handheld alongside these other ones. And like, if it's going to continue to just be a handheld, even with the dock, because I mean, look at 99% of people who use the Switch, they use it because it's a handheld. Like, I don't know very many people that like actually dock it. Like most people,
99%, but probably the majority.
75%.
Statistics on that.
But my point is, if Nintendo was to stick with handheld, it will have to continue to ensure that it's always the best handheld on the market. And I think that's a hard thing to guarantee. Obviously, like Nintendo lives and dies off of its first party titles. But, I think they'll switch back to console because there's going to be so much handheld competition. And if you start having Xbox with a handheld and a console, PlayStation is investing in Portal, has the console, like Nintendo kind of has to keep pace with that so that it doesn't just become like a Sega and start like slowly kind of losing ground to the point where like, did they just start putting their first party titles on other consoles?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Interesting.
That's my take, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, trying to look up that information. It's a little. It says like
that's like probably a really hard stat to find.
Yeah. It says most people, it's handheld by a little bit, but it's hard to tell because it's like most players don't play just one or the other. It's like a little combination of both. So it's kind of hard to pin down.
Let's ask
But
Gemini.
good question. We got another Switch 2 question coming up, so you can hold your thoughts on. This one's from Sunshine Sam, one of our favorites,
what's up, man?
writing in. Hey, y'all, I'm curious about some more game dev talk. I love any behind-the-scenes info on how the stuff I love is made. I'm curious on your thoughts on why some studios get stuck in certain things, like why you mentioned the Yakuza game seems stuck in 2010, or why Bethesda doesn't innovate on their game engine. Is it just too much to rebuild from the ground up, or are they cutting corners? As always, stay shiny, Sunshine Sam. That's a really good question and a really hard one to answer.
It's extremely difficult to update engines consistently, especially if you're making your own, because it's such a huge lift. Like I say this from experience with Frostbite, from DICE. Like DICE have their own engine, and I don't know if they're still using Frostbite. I think they switched to Unreal now, but
almost
I'm not
everyone
100% sure. But like we just constantly heard about how Frostbite was causing issues. And so it's difficult, I think, to be constantly updating your engine to meet today's standards, because as you're doing that, you're also jeopardizing development because they're using the engine to make the game. So how do you even find a window where it's like, hey, like, we're going to create this engine and then you start the next Battlefield on it, and that takes 5 years to develop. So even then you're 5 years behind, I don't know. I think it's much easier for like a place like Epic to just be making an engine and constantly updating it, and then people will jump on it rather than an in-house studio
and it's
dedicating those resources.
Yeah, it's like, and to your point, as far as technically, it's when you're creating like an in-house engine, you're making it for a very small subset of customers, essentially, which are your internal developers, and your money comes directly from the sale of their games. And with a more general purpose like engine like Epic, that instead of having it like one-to-one linked, now you have like all these sources of income, so you can you're more stable and you have all these different customers and stuff like that. So you get more resources, right? And then you can pump things in. You can be more general. You can have more long-term. You can have a bigger team. When these like internal level developer or engines, much smaller teams, much smaller scope, everything. So they're struggling. And then they've trained an entire company how to use this tool. And if they make a new tool, like Dustin was saying, then you have to retrain all these people, which is a huge effort and has a real value associated with it. So there's a lot of things. And I see, like, you see a lot of people moving to the Epic Unreal Engine. And I think that's going to continue, especially with like bigger studios. And the reason is you can hire talent all ready to go. You don't have to hire them on your tools. Basically guaranteed to stay up to date with the latest technology trends because Epic is doing that for you. All these things. Yeah, it costs money, but it's, all these benefits are going to outweigh that. Now, that being said, I think there's still an argument for building in-house stuff for smaller scale engines and stuff like that. But the problem is they don't scale. You're going to get, you build a new engine for very specific criteria of okay, I need to do something that nobody else can do right. Or, maybe I don't want to pay the fee or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different reasons to build your own engine. Maybe you just want to do it for fun. It's really hard. But switching away from technical to more of design, you brought up an interesting one of I mentioned the Yakuza game stuck in 2010, which I talked about last time. That I think comes from a little bit of a couple of places, and Dustin is probably going to correct me a lot here, but I'm going to give it my best shot and see what he says. I think it's a couple of things here. One is they want to represent, they want to carry forward the feeling of their older games. You see this a lot more common with sequels to things, is in a game that already has a precedent, like Dynasty Warriors, for instance, and Yakuza games, is if you move too far away from where your original was without pulling a God of War and doing a 360, 180 kind of thing. Yeah, doing a major rebrand, people don't like it. They're whoa, this is too different, and it's supposed to be similar. So people get really upset. But I think a lot of companies overdo it and they don't change enough. But then on the other side, I think that there's probably a lot of the game designers. So the gaming industry is very small. It's relative to other industries, it's very small. And those people that are the game designers, they stick around and they don't move companies a lot. And maybe other positions do, especially contractor positions, but game designers don't move around a lot, and they will stay in the same position for 30, 40 years now because they just never retired, and they've been there since Pong. You know what I mean? They've just been there forever. And so they kind of get, I think to a certain degree, not completely, but get a little stuck in their ways and want to keep things the same. So I think that's some.
I agree with all of that. I think when games stick with a certain style, it's artistic choice. Sifu, right? That game's probably gonna look like that generally forever. That's the arts, unless they decide to do a revamp. But I think mostly it's artistic choice. They want to stick with it. And there's other games that want to push the boundaries. Like Call of Duty and Battlefield. You got to play this game on the fucking NVIDIA 5090. There's also a level of maybe not so much a console, but accessibility. Yep. Not forcing your user base to have the latest graphics card to play your game, because it does alienate.
Honestly, that's a good point. That reminds me of if I play a game from 20 years ago, and then I go to the options to see if I can full screen, and I can't full screen. And I'm this sucks. That is something that's a good. I know that I was kind of on a whole different wavelength with that question, because I was what features in a game would I call, would I be oh, this game is 10 years in the past, And you guys kind of took on the engine conversation, which is totally relevant. But I'm thinking more Halo. All the Halo games kept coming out, but they didn't change their core ideas when other shooters were. And eventually I was why am I going to pay money to play Halo again? And that's when I would say, to me, the Halo Infinite felt like a 10-year older game than it was, So
yeah.
I think you're right. I think it is design philosophy. I think there's definitely
losing you a little.
Yeah. Okay. That's that.
Yeah.
That's
we're losing. Yeah.
Check.
You're a robot.
No.
Because actual recording is higher quality.
Well, hopefully that'll work. Either way, yeah. There's a lot of factors that go into that question, and for me, the most interesting ones are just how games progress in terms of the elements of the game. What do we have scopes now? Does everyone have vaulting, 4-dimensional movement? If your game stays in the dark and doesn't move on, to me that's how it stays in the past.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Alex, on engines. Actually, what do you really think the benefit of making your own engine is? Because I just did the math.
Capability.
Right? They take 5% Unreal from gross sales. So you sell $500 million, you're paying $25 million.
To a certain million, and then you
after $1 million, after $1 million, they take 5%. So you sell $500 million, they're taking $25 million, at least, right? Like, around 25 million.
If you're making that much off a game, you're probably negotiating at a lower price, but let's just assume.
But I mean, 25 million is nothing. That's nothing out of
Yeah.
you're still making 475 million
Yeah.
of your revenue.
Yeah.
So it's nothing. Like, there's no way you're going to create a AAA engine for $25 million, probably.
Right. That's the
Right.
thing. Yeah. That's
So
the
it's
math.
like, what is the real benefit? And I would say, like what Tyler said, that it has to be is like, you were like with Battlefield, right? You have Frostbite. I guess the thought, and I don't actually know this answer because it was not really something we talked about, but like, are you able to scale that engine in certain ways or put in certain things in it, like capabilities that are going to work to enhance your specific game to a level that Unreal can't? Because maybe Unreal is built to kind of be more neutral, so every game works really well on it. But for what Battlefield needs with like destruction and fidelity and things like that, the system they can create with Frostbite was able to push the boundaries farther than Unreal was, and the things that are going to make that game like the best. Would you say that's true?
So I mean, to a degree, yeah, but it's a very complicated question, and I'm going to try to do my best to answer it quickly. But so, like, the question is, why wouldn't you use the existing engines? Why would you build your own? And I think that in the past, that question has been a lot easier to answer. Is that just in the past, previous engines weren't either up to date with the latest bleeding edge technology, they were too expensive, or they didn't fit the needs of what your game was. But nowadays, especially with Unreal and even like Unity and things, like the engines are getting better. They're getting the technology is bleeding edge now. The engines are so generic, you can do almost anything in them, and they're cheap. So it is becoming less and less appealing to make your own engine, but there are still reasons to make your own engine. And one thing that I want to clarify up front is that we're used to seeing these like all-in-one engines. So Unreal and Unity is like an all-in-one engine. Most times when people say the word game engine, it actually shows like a kind of fundamental misunderstanding of what a game engine is. It's actually, whenever you hear game engine, replace it in your brain with the word game development pipeline. That's really what that means when people talk about it. Most companies, not all, but most companies will have multiple applications, and they have a pipeline to get things through. So they'll have like an asset pipeline. So getting like a character model through from concept into the game, and then having somebody from like game design do mechanic design to scripting to game, right? Like all of these pipelines, are created. And the idea is to create the least amount of friction for each position to get what their little piece is into the game. So if I'm a model artist, I want to go from like Maya or whatever 3D modeling to puppeting to doing the bones and stuff into the game as fast as possible. So a lot of these companies will create tooling to minimize that work for them and to make it very specific for the type of game that they're working on. And this is usually a combination of things they built in-house as well as a combination of existing tools.
It's a developer version of Jira.
Basically, well, Jira is a developer thing, but
no, I know, but
they probably use Jira. And they have all these build pipelines and all these different like things that merge things together. And, you have to take, like, for instance, game designers tend to use like these scripting languages that are for mechanics. So you have to take that, then you have to digest that. You have to turn that into code or into bytecode or whatever that, can be read into the system based off of like objects and things. Anyways, there are reasons to do it, but those reasons are getting less and less strong. They're not as strong as they used to be, but there are still some technical reasons as well. Sometimes like maybe you're doing something really different. That's not just their typical third person, first person, side scroller, whatever. And you need something very, very custom, very bespoke is the word nowadays. I hate that fucking word because everybody in tech is using it.
Yeah.
We're making a bespoke app. Every app you make is bespoke because it's custom. Everything is custom if you're making it. Anyways,
buzzword.
But yeah, it's such a buzzword. But anyways, so there are reasons for it. Did that answer your question?
That reminds me of my buddy. He gets a huge pet peeve when people say, I made homemade whatever. He's like, you don't have to say homemade because you said I made it.
Yeah,
It's all made.
I know it's homemade. I know it's
That
custom.
works.
You made it. But all right, well, we have one more question, and we're like way over time, and we do want to talk about the Bioware thing.
Oh yeah.
So this is from Pat. I think our Uncle Patrick. So what's up? He says, "Hey guys, I keep forgetting to submit questions after I listen or watch your episode, but before your next episode, so apologies if you just answered this one. You mentioned the Switch 2 is not a day one buy for you guys. Same here. It's just too similar to the system I already own and ignore. Though I'm curious what game would make it a day one buy for you." Oh, hold on. The rapping, dude. Every single time. I should have a little jingle of Alex forgot to rap the text. Okay, for you. What is your must-buy game or unannounced feature? For me, if the rumors are true, Final Fantasy IX Remake, not a remaster, exclusive to Switch 2, that would be my buy.
They would
Final
not
Fantasy
do that.
9, yeah, they would. They are. Is my favorite numerical Final Fantasy and will gladly buy it again. Thanks for the great show, Pat. First off, Final Fantasy IX is the best Final Fantasy, and I will not take any questions on that.
But to be perfectly frank, we were raised with our uncle telling us that, so we're all pretty biased on this one.
Heck
Gaslight.
No. Everybody
Literally, the
told us
person
that.
who introduced me to Final Fantasy IX just said in a question that Final Fantasy IX was his favorite.
It was more of a statement, but I think at the time it was 7, 8, and 9 were like the big hot ones, and then
9
10
was
came
always
later.
the best.
But I always thought 9 was
okay,
the
I
best.
will answer the question though, because Final Fantasy IX Remake, I would buy the console for
too.
it. But the one that would make me day one, give me Final Fantasy Tactics Remake. Let's go.
D, which I actually don't like, but no, I would like Tactics. So I mean that 2.5, that Octopath Traveler. But for me, I would like to see OLED. I don't think they are going to do OLED.
I want OLED too. Yeah.
If it was OLED, I would be like mile closer to buying a day one. Final Fantasy IX Remake would be pretty good. But
better
the
not.
Next one
that better be turn based. It better be turn.
Yeah, no, it should be like a very faithful remake. I would be really pissed because they did do a remaster, which was just a HD version of the same exact game, and I bought that on my PlayStation. I play it sometimes, but yeah, Metroid. But I still don't know if that would be enough to make me day one, right? Like, I still think I would wait for like a sale on the Switch when it comes out, in like a year when they're like 30% off on a Switch bundle or something.
They never have those.
Like, that doesn't even exist right now.
It doesn't exist right now.
Yeah.
Go get a Switch on sale.
They might get a bundle that includes like a game. Like that's like your best bet.
Or
maybe I'll wait for like when there's a cool
hardware. You get the like second tier of.
Yeah, you need Switch 2 Lite.
Well, you need to wait for the second manufacturing, right? When they fix whatever problems there were with the first manufacturing.
I'll wait for the Switch 2 Pro. That comes out in 4 years or whatever.
Yeah, see you in 2029.
I was about to say, I bet you within 2 years we're both gonna have them.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think
what?
there's any
Keep our
game
viewership
that
going,
would
and maybe
make me...
Nintendo will send them to us.
Yeah,
For real. I don't think there's any game that would make me be like day one. But I mean, for any console, I don't know. I'm just somebody like with my life right now that like I'm just not a like camp out, have to have day one person anymore. Like I camped out for GameCube, I camped out for PlayStation 4 and 3, and I don't know. I can't really think of like what am I gonna say? Oh, Zelda, oh Mario,
Nier Automata Switch version exclusive.
No, but I mean like
two.
I didn't buy Switch when Breath of the Wild came out. I ended up buying it and then I returned it because I beat it when I was in China and I still could return it when I got back. So I was like, yep, there you go. So I had to play Breath of the Wild for free. But like, I still don't have a Switch and I haven't played the second Zelda. I haven't played any of the Mario. I haven't played anything on Switch other than Breath of the Wild, and it sucks. But like, that's
what
the case.
happens when Arthur, starts to get a little older and starts wanting?
That's probably right now he's playing PlayStation, so he plays Minecraft and he plays a couple other games.
He's gonna want his
on
own, right? He's gonna want his own. It's a handheld, so
well, good luck with that. That's like
he's gonna have to get a jab.
Yeah, seriously. So I don't know. I like the idea of buying a Switch too. Like I think my issue was I waited so long to buy the Switch that I just kind of got to a point of like, I might as well just wait for the next one because it's like.
But now you say that you're waiting for the next one again.
Yeah, but is that going to be the case again? Or I'm just like, do I need it? Do I need it? Like, I think that really goes into the fact that like I've just been a PC player since I was like 13 years old, You know, like that is my gaming system, and now I have a PlayStation
have
5
the
for
sound.
single player. That actually wasn't even my Spring. It was like just sitting under my desk.
I gotta set the sound back up.
You know, but like, I just don't need a Nintendo. Like, as much as I love Nintendo, and I love Pokemon, and I love Zelda, I love Mario, I love these games, I just don't think I'll use it enough to justify. I will look at the Switch as a travel companion. Oh, if I'm flying somewhere, I'm going to run a workshop, I'll bring it with me. So I'm just going to be chilling in my room. Or I need it for the plane. And that's how I look at the Switch.
I don't have the ability. I mean, rarely. I rarely have the ability to focus on my Switch in the situations that I'm traveling. If I'm sitting in an airport, if I'm sitting in an airplane, if I'm on a bus, I cannot play a video game in those situations. I can't do it. I don't know why. I can't. I can't play a video game in a car.
A big thing too that probably makes sense on why I'm also like not anti-Switch, but like don't feel the need is I don't play mobile games. Like I've been playing Pocket because it's very low lift, but I don't sit here and play Honkai Star Rail on my phone. Like I don't like playing games like that on my phone. And obviously Switch isn't that, but it's still like I don't want to be on my couch sitting there playing Switch on my handheld. Like I don't know. Like sure I could put it into the TV, but I don't know. It's just
why do that when you could play on your PC or on the PlayStation? Maybe it's just like an age thing for us because we're all, you know, a little bit older, you know, and we're just kind of past that point in our life. Yeah. Maybe this just isn't, you know, like in our realm
There's
anymore.
Old guys now. Yeah.
You know what I like the idea of doing though is getting a pair of X-Real AR glasses, hooking those up, and then wearing X-Reals and laying on my couch and like projecting as I play PlayStation, like on like a fucking virtual screen.
That would be
takes
sick.
Up like half my room.
Just like laying down. What do you do?
I'm skeptical.
No, I mean, one of our clients, he let me try his X-Reals at GDC last year, and dude, it's fucking insane.
Really?
Like it would be so cool. But I mean, the problem is X-Reals are like $300 or $400, you know. So it's like, oh, well, do I want to spend that much on that experience?
It's a screen, right? It's like
And they're just gonna get better. You guys gotta wait for them to get better and better.
Yeah.
Well, we have one more topic. So before we get to that, though, we just want to say that we really appreciate everyone who follows and subscribes to us. We post new episodes every Tuesday on podcast services and on YouTube. You can find the latest news and announcements at pixelatedrealms.org/Patreon. We wanted to address a little bit. You wanted to talk about the layoffs, right?
Yeah,
so this,
you know,
isn't like super recent, but
no, it is. It is. They just laid off a bunch of the studio
like
last week.
Oh,
or yeah,
Jesus.
So they basically shrunk Bioware down to like a skeleton crew working on the next Mass Effect. It sounds like most of the Dragon Age team was laid off. Basically, like most of the studio was laid off if you're not working on Mass Effect. So I don't know how many people are left there. And like, shit, I think my headset's gonna die. I guess like
that's
the end of the episode. I want to say is like, you know, I was like, I got laid off 2 years ago almost, you know, and a lot of the studios have unjustly got shut down or people got laid off. But like, I think we also have to be a little bit realistic on some of these. And like, I'm not saying it's the fault of anybody working there, any of the regular developers who got laid off. But it's like, dude, Bioware's been like fucking laying eggs for like 5 years.
It's not been going well for them.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
and
like
Dragon Age Veilguard was
Age was expected to make $3 million in the first 2 months. It made $1.5 million, so made half of their expected revenue.
And businesses are built on forecasting, right? You don't build your business off of what you just did. You have to do it off of what you can do in the future, you know. And that sucks.
No, you know, and Dustin's changing out his headset at the moment, but I'm interested to see what he says when he gets back because, you know, like you don't see this level of layoffs in other industries. Yeah. So, like, what is the gaming industry doing different that is causing these problems? I mean, you see layoffs for sure, but not like I want to say it was like
we've been covering it for a year.
Yeah, like 2 years. It's like 30% or something of like the workforce just like disappeared overnight. Over the course of a couple of years, but it's like, what are video games running on that tight a margin
Right.
that it's like if they make one or two mistakes, it's like that's it, that's done, unless you're one of these big companies. And yeah, BioWare has been like struggling for a while. Like Veilguard did not do the numbers. I don't even remember. What was the one before that? I don't even remember. Was it? It wasn't Anthem. That was a while ago.
No, it was
Inquisition.
Legendary. It was Legendary Edition, Mass Effect.
Oh, Mass Effect. Yeah,
And
that probably
then-
did pretty well though.
Because they was their old games.
Yeah, but that was low.
Well,
Low
let's
cost,
see how many
high,
copies of
interest.
Mass Effect Legendary sold. I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know if you heard when you were changing out your battery. I was saying like our video game like why does it seem like at least that we get so much layoffs in the video game industry and not other industries? Like, is the margin, the profit margin, just that tight?
I don't think it's that the profit margins are that tight. I mean, some of the AAA games for sure, right? Like Black Ops 6 had a $700 million development cost. That's just development. I bet you total cost was double if you include marketing. Like, I bet you that game probably cost a $1.5 billion total budget. You know, and so that means 20 million copies. 20 million copies at $70, you get that back. But that doesn't even include cosmetics, season passes. So, like, Black Ops 6 probably going to make like $3 billion. So they're going to like come out way ahead. But yeah, I don't think it's the margin. I honestly, like, COVID was a couple of years ago now, right? Like, it's been a while, and it's hard to keep blaming things on COVID. But we saw a mass influx of hiring in the video game industry during COVID, and I think that we're still seeing some layoffs have definitely slowed down the past 6 months. Like, they're still happening, and every time they do, they get like, thrust in the spotlight, deservedly so. I do think it's slowed down a little bit, but I think we're just still seeing corrections from studio sizes, some marketing sizes. I think we're also seeing some ripple effect of like, frankly, like what Elon Musk did with Twitter. Like, how much can we scale down and still see like things run? Basically just as well. So I think we're seeing that. Like, companies, I wouldn't
say Twitter is doing very well at the moment, but considering
but
we're still calling
maybe
it Twitter.
not, but I mean, like,
yeah, what was that? The name of it again? Unsuccessful rebranding?
X.
Literally nobody calls it X. Literally nobody. Even like big posts
and I'll
will
say formerly known as Twitter.
Formerly Twitter, exactly.
Yeah, but like, you don't really notice that Twitter is that much more like that terrible. The only thing that you can noticeably say with Twitter, in my opinion, is like the amount of like bot spam in comments. Like, that is like noticeably terrible. It's really hard to like actually get to real comments on popular posts. But I mean, in terms of functionality, like, can you really say that
built
like
by people? So it was like he like hired all these it's essentially like, I mean, I know it was a different company, but think of it as like he hired all these like disposable workforce, built up the building, and then fired them all, and then had just the minimum amount of people to keep it going. That's only going to work so long before the building deteriorates. You know what I mean? So we'll see how long
maybe
it lasts.
we'll see these gaming companies, start hiring again.
Well, you just overwork these people and then they quit because they get burned out.
Well, yeah, but one problem with video gaming industry is you have a lot of people who want to work in it. And that's been historically a reason why video game people who work in the industry are overworked and underpaid. Because somebody will come in and do that fucking job for pennies on the dollar because they are so desperate to work in the gaming industry.
Right.
It is a huge
and it's awful. I mean, I remember I got an offer from a small dev in LA a while ago, and it was like a third of what I was making at the time. And I'm like, fuck no. Like,
Blizzard is historically, I don't know about now, but like back in the day, like Blizzard had a horrible reputation for underpaying. And and with like a lot of crunch. And crunch has like gotten a lot better, at least optically, do we think?
Yeah.
Because like in like the last 5 years, like crunch has like really got put in the spotlight. But yeah, I think we're still seeing a lot of the effects of overhiring during COVID. We saw a huge spike in games interest during that time, and it's waned a little bit. It's kind of got back down to what it was before, and that's where, like what I was saying, a lot of like these unfair, unlucky, unjustified layoffs have happened. We've seen like some CEOs making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Take a fat bonus the same year that they lay off a bunch of people.
Yeah, but not every time a studio shuts down or layoffs happen, is it like corporate greed, or oh, it's so like unjustified, like I said, like Bioware, I'm sorry, but you guys as a studio have underperformed the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Anthem was fucking terrible.
Anthem was
Velguard
a
did not do
huge,
numbers.
yeah. Veilguard did not do well.
Velguard got
Yeah,
teased at TGA's 2018. Game came out 6 years later.
that writing was real bad.
You
It
know,
was just embarrassingly bad.
Did
I
you
mean,
play
it's
it?
like the Skull and
I
Bones
watched
studio
some
still
gameplay.
open. Like, did they get shut down?
Skull
Yeah.
and Bones. How is that not dead yet? It's
Hey, that game actually is. I have 50 hours in that game. Okay.
You know,
you just hyper fixated on it. It had nothing to do with the quality of the game.
You know what? As I literally was like, as long as I can get in a boat and go blow up some other boats, I was totally happy. It really wasn't that hard.
but I do think that we're getting towards the end of the layoffs.
Fingers crossed.
If you follow Amir on LinkedIn, like, he's
Mhm.
predicted a few times now that we've turned a corner on it. And I think we have. I hope we have. I think, I've talked to other people in the industry who said they're starting to see more job postings in development and the marketing side of things. So, but yeah, surprised. I think EA has probably been waiting to do this Bioware layoff for a year or maybe multiple
longer.
years, just waiting for Dragon Age to get wrapped up and then be like, all right, guys, like, it's been fun. It's been real. It's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun.
Yeah.
So, and like I said earlier, I think like DICE is on that same or Battlefield is on that same chopping block here. If like this game fails and like doesn't meet expectations or like just whiffs, there's going to be consequences.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, I hope they don't, fail. Like, I know you never want to see it.
No, I still know people who work there and they're all great people, and I hope the game just fucking crushes it. I'd love for nothing more than that. But
Yeah. I'd love for a new Battlefield. Like, if it came out and it felt like just as good as Delta Force is right now, like, I would totally play the shit out of it. So
yeah,
let's hope.
But you look at BioWare and you say, okay, like, that sucks. I feel bad for everyone there. But is it surprising? No. But then you look at like the studio that made that fucking music game. What the hell is that? Hi-Fi Rush. And they get shut down. You're like, how the fuck does that happen? Like,
yeah, right. Like they have this like critically acclaimed game selling great, and then they're still shut down.
Yeah, so like you just look at that example and you're like, that makes zero fucking sense. How that happened, I have no idea. You look at Concord and you're like, okay, I guess, how can you really say that doesn't make sense that studio got shuttered? I mean, obviously you'd hope that they'd get an opportunity to do it again, do something next. But I mean, 8 years of development and hundreds of millions of dollars later, it's like, yeah, heads are going to fucking roll, man. It just, that's any industry, you fucking lose $1 billion or $500 million. Like, people are going to get fired.
Yeah, you're going to struggle to make payroll. But yeah, I don't know. I've been talking about this a long time, like for years, I think at this point. But it's like what I want to see out of all of this bad news is like this like golden age of indie resurgence. Like I would love to see those come back and rebound, and we start to see a lot of indie titles, smaller scale games, shorter experiences, but much more intimate, and some passion projects by people that don't cost as much to make. But like I don't think AAAs are going away. But I think
I don't even think it needs to be indie. Like, I'd love to see like some mid-tier, like AA games, like high quality games being made that, from like the studios that are being born from the, ashes of these shutdowns. And, I've talked to a couple of different people who have that same opinion, that they think that we will see a little bit of a renaissance in the gaming industry of like less reliance on big AAAs. And I know that we're running way over, but I saw an interesting graphic that Ryan McCaffrey posted from IGN, and it was showing game development from Rockstar. And it shows like 15 years ago how like Rockstar was making all these games at the same time. And then now like Rockstar has basically become like, we make one game like every 5 years.
Big game.
It's like GTA, then Red Dead, and then GTA, and then Red Dead, and then GTA. And it's like
high risk, high reward,
and it's like, is that what we want? I mean, will we see EA, like, if Battlefield fails, like, scale down and, like, okay, like, like, we're now a fucking sports publisher. We do FIFA, we do Madden, we do NHL, we do UFC, we do NCAA football. Like, we're going to keep the Sims, but we're killing off Bioware, we're killing off Battlefield. You know, thankfully, Haze Light has still been doing really well, but it's still like those games I don't think do banger numbers. That's Joseph Fares studio. So I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting time in that gaming industry. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see where we're at in 2 to 3 years.
Oh yeah, I'm very interested to see too. And we don't have enough time this podcast, but I want to kind of cue us up for maybe a discussion for our next podcast. Is like, Rockstar, you touched on this a little bit, and I'm glad you did because I wanted to talk about this anyways. It was like, they've been discussing whether or not they want to charge more than $70.
Oh, I want to talk about this too. I forgot to bring it up. Yes, we need to talk about this.
I think we could do a huge a big talk about this. So we'll prime it for next time. But they were saying like, hey, if we spend this much money on this game is bigger. We want to be able to charge more. And a lot of people in the industry, including myself, are saying like, well, if this happens, this is going to give other companies the go ahead to do this, right? Like, it wasn't like once the seal is broken, it's broken forever.
Games are $59.99 on N64 in 1997. We did not see an increase in prices basically for over 20 years when it moved to 70.
I'm going to stop you because I want to keep talking about this, and we can talk about inflation and stuff, but we don't have enough time. We'll talk about this next episode, though. But thank everybody who's been listening. We've definitely gone over this episode, so we appreciate it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe. If you liked our content, it helps us so we can make more of it. And if you subscribe, you can be notified when we post our new episodes every Tuesday on podcast services and on YouTube. So till next time.